Welcome to day 2. All right, I think we're ready to rock and roll. So let's start with the same intention that we brought in yesterday. That when we prepare ourselves to connect to our essence and to the ultimate essence, we do so not only in a solo endeavor, but we do so having in mind that, that our actions in this world are to make this world a better place, to spread goodness and kindness throughout the world. And in doing that, when we prepare for prayer, we do so having in mind that we are at the service of others as well. So we'll say together, we'll bring in the intention of loving our fellow as ourselves, of committing this day and this service as a time and as a day that we can connect to others and do good for others. So we'll say together first in the Hebrew, Hareini, Makabel, Alai, Mitzvahs, Aseh, Shel, Ve'ahavta, L'Reacha, Kamocha. And now in English, I hereby accept upon myself the positive commandment of loving my fellow as myself. And we connect with that not just in speech, but with action as well. And so we take our tzedakah pushka and we put a coin in, and we have in mind that tzedakah, when we give money, we're giving from what is essentially our vitality. That the way we operate in this world is that we work and we make money, and we use that money to sustain ourselves. And by giving of our own to the pushka, which is going to go to somebody else who needs it, we're giving from our chayas, from our vitality, to somebody else. So we're committing our energy. We're committing our energy to the energy of another. So yesterday we spoke about the word Shema. And Shema, we said, has a few different connotations to it. The most basic being hearing, a more sophisticated level being gathering, and ultimately being about an elevation, right? The last explanation we gave of Shema was Sa'u Mara Menechem, which means lift up your eyes, right? And we spoke about that as a lifting up of your mental eyes, right? That our mind's eye should be elevated. We should elevate our perspective and align it in a way that we try to perceive. We look past the veil to perceive an essence that is beyond what we exist in this physical paradigm. So the next word we're going to talk about today is Yisrael. So Yisrael, Israel, similarly has a few different explanations. And to preface this idea, there's a story that there was once a chassid, a very simple chassid, who was in shul. He was davening, and everybody in the community noticed that he was davening with tremendous fervor. And typically they understood davening with intensity to be something that comes with refined intellect, with preparation, and with a cultivated sense of understanding. And this guy did not exhibit those characteristics, but he was sitting there, and he was really, it was visible and palpable how much he was feeling what he was davening. So after they finished davening, the other guys in the community asked him, what's going on? Where did you get this energy and this excitement and this vitality from to daven in such a way? Are you possibly a hidden tzaddik, or is there something we don't know about you? And he said, I can tell you that I really don't know anything. But he said, but there's one thing that I heard from the Rebbe and from the rabbi who teaches us, who guides us, and it's stuck with me. I heard it years ago, and it's stuck with me ever since. He says that it says by the Ten Commandments in the Torah, when God gave the Ten Commandments, there's two instances in the Torah wherein God gave the Ten Commandments. The first time regarding Shabbos, it says shamar, it says guard the Shabbos, keep the Shabbos. And the second time, which is in Exodus, and the second time in Deuteronomy, it says remember, zachar, as a Shabbos. And it's brought in the liturgy, the Kabbalists wrote in the liturgy for Friday night that we say shamar b'zachar b'dibur echad. It's also mentioned by the rabbis in the Talmud that how do they account for this discrepancy that one time God said this and one time God said that really God said both of them simultaneously, and one time they heard shamar and one time they heard zachar, right? That it was on their end, on their perspective, it was two different instances, but really by God's end, it was one thing simultaneously. And the Rebbe had taught that when it comes to our own work in davening, what does that mean? Is that shamar v'zachar b'dibur echad, that these two ideas encapsulated in one word said simultaneously means that the echad of each word, the oneness of each word, the unity of each word is something that we have to internalize. We have to guard it and we have to remember it. We have to interact, we have to find the oneness within each word of davening. So that's why we spent the day yesterday talking about Shema, and today we're going to talk about Yisrael. So the first idea of Yisrael that is perhaps the most famous is that Yisrael comes from the term Yisrael is a name that is given to Jacob in the Torah after he wrestles with the angel, right? And the angel says to Jacob, he says, you have wrestled with God and with people, and you have won, or you have overcome. And the Hebrew word is sarisa. Ki sarisa im elikim v'anashim v'tucha. That you strove, you struggled, you wrestled with God. And this becomes his name, and it becomes the hallmark of the Jewish people, right? It becomes our identity as people. It becomes our identity in how we connect to our land, the land of Israel, right? And we have, and so when we talk about Yisrael, the first thing that comes to mind is that latent, pregnant in our relationship is an idea of struggle. That we are not angels, and God does not expect us to be angels, nor does he want us to be angels, right? Angels represent an idea that there is energy that is programmed and aligned to do God's will. And we are decidedly not those. And we're not that on purpose. God doesn't want that from us. He doesn't expect that from us. The famous story in the Talmud is that when God gave the Torah, the angels came to God and said, "Why are you giving your most precious object to these people?" And Moses, so to speak, intercedes and says, "You don't have any of these struggles that we have. The Torah is not relevant to you." Right? We have this corpus, that Torah, which comes from the word instruction. We have this corpus of an instruction manual specifically for us to teach us how to connect, how to transcend our struggles. So when we say, the first thing that we bring into mind when we come to say the Shema, when we say Yisrael, is that we have our struggles, and that we're programmed to have struggles, and it's divinely ordained that we should have struggles, and that we're not afraid of our struggles, because we know that our struggles don't define us, and we're not limited to them. Because the second translation, the second understanding of Yisrael is Yashar Kel, right? That Yashar means straight, that we go straight with God. And the idea is as much as we might waffle or oscillate on the path, being that we are experiencing struggles, that we're defined in some degree by our experience of struggles, not that we're defined by our struggles themselves, but that our experience as humans is that we struggle in this world. Nevertheless, we know that we contain something within us that is much, much greater than our physical experience, and that is our godly soul. And the Kabbalists teach that everybody has two souls, a natural, so to speak, animalistic soul that is, in its basic sense, the vitality that vivifies our body, but ultimately manifests in a way that is about uh, doing what is best for me. And at the same time, we have a divine soul, a godly soul, that we're told is a spark of God that is inside of us. And that's our capacity for doing things for others, for doing things to connect, right? And really the goal of all of this is to interface even for a moment with our divine soul. And like we said yesterday, that moment that we interface, that moment that our primary identity is defined by our divine soul, where we lose sense of ourselves as a physical form and feel connected to something beyond us. That's an experience that we try to not only tap into, but to harness and to carry with us for the rest of our day. And the goal ultimately, the body of Torah and mitzvahs is to find opportunities, as many opportunities as we can throughout the day, to interface a little more with that divine soul, to interface a little more with God. So that's Yashar Kel. That's going straight. That even though we know that we have struggles and we waffle and we go back and forth, we can go straight and we can transcend. And the third explanation of Yisrael is when you change the letters around, it spells the word Li Rosh, which means my head, or for me ahead. And this is a way that God refers to the Jewish people. That Li Rosh means that we have a principle in Kabbalah, in the mystical teachings, that Sof Maaseh b'machshava tchila, that the end action is connected with the initial thought. That when we build a house, the ultimate, when the house is put up and the house is complete, is the ultimate realization of the initial thought of, I need somewhere to live. And that when it comes to God's relationship with the Jewish people, we are the ultimate realization of God's initial desire of the entire process of creating existence and creating the universe, maybe the multiverse. And our relationship is such that our capacity to realize that initial thought is because we are expressions of God in a finite form. Like we've said before, that God, the way the Kabbalists understand God is that if you say that God is the ultimate essence of everything and totally infinite, then even infinity is limiting to God. Because if he's infinite, he can't be finite. So the Kabbalists say that instead, he has to have a capacity for both infinite and finite. And this is one of the things that we try to hold in our mind, in our mind's eye, as we say the Shema. That there is an infinite and a finite that exists simultaneously, that both express the ultimate infinity of the ultimate essence of godliness. And so when we talk about Li Rosh, we start to think about our place within this partnership, that God has not just created us, but he continues to create us because he continues to create everything at every moment. And that behind that veil, there is an ultimate intention of why we are here and what our partnership is in this world. So as we take a moment to prepare to say the Shema, we start to, we get ourselves situated properly. The Shema is specifically said as a sitting prayer. Some prayers in Judaism are said standing. Most notably, the silent prayer is actually called the standing prayer. That's one of the words for it. But Shema is specifically connected with sitting. And sitting has to do with the settledness of it, it's about bringing down, right? That we sort of, when we sit, we bring our bodies down into the chair. So we sit and we prepare ourselves, we sit and we start to prepare our minds that we're bringing a reality down into this world, right? We're trying to transcend what we discussed yesterday as our natural state, which is waking up in the morning, feeling in a world of fragmentation, feeling that our intellect is disconnected from our emotions, which is disconnected from our thoughts and our speech and our actions. And we're trying to instead settle and unify our entire experience, our human experience as one. So as we sit, we prepare ourselves and we'll cover our eyes. So we'll find a comfortable position and we'll cover our eyes and we'll start to think to ourselves that I've woken up in a world that manifests as disparate, as separate, and as fragmented. But at the same time, I understand that there is an essence that is above and beyond the limitations of this fragmentation. That separateness connotes limitations and connotes finitude, and that ultimately there is a unity that transcends all disconnectedness. And that I'm going to hone in via Shema, that I'm going to understand and to hear and gather myself to experience for a moment the oneness as it exists in its natural state. And we do that by negating the fragmentation that presents itself, which we do by covering our eyes. And as our eyes are covered and we're sitting with our feet on the floor, we'll begin together to say the Shema. And we say together that Shema Yisrael, that I am elevating and I'm gathering both my struggles and my ability to transcend my struggles and my ultimate mission and purpose in this world, and I'm gathering it together with Adonai Eloheinu, with the ultimate essence of godliness that is beyond any limitations. And that godliness is Adonai Echad, is an ultimate unity and singularity wherein we exist. So as we have that in mind, we'll say it together. Take a deep breath. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. And we take a moment with our eyes still covered and we feel the oneness and the singularity. And we try to feel our connection within that. And as we uncover our eyes and we see the world around us reborn, we try to take the reality that we've just generated for ourselves and see the world not as fragmented, but as harmonious. Reminding ourselves that we know that the beauty of harmony is that which is only enabled via multiplicity. One voice can't make a harmony, but we need two voices. And that the multiplicity of this world, when we attune ourselves with the reality we've just created, that we've rebirthed, this multiplicity indicates the ultimate harmony and the ultimate unity, which is that unity is not limited to a singleness, but in fact, the unity of God and the true unity of God's essence can be expressed even in the multiplicity. And so we'll say the next line, Baruch Shem, Baruch being a way, Baruch meaning blessed, which truly means to extend and to actualize, to bring this reality down into our physical experience, not when we're negating the contradictions of the world, but even when we embrace it, that we extend it into that reality as well. So we'll say the next line together. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuso Leolam Vaed. So we say, blessed may we actualize the name of the dignity of the kingship of the kingdom, and may it express itself la'elam va'ed, down into this world and forever. And like we said yesterday, that la'olam worlds represent realms, and they represent that which is covered over, that which is concealed. And different realms operate in different levels of concealment. And as we embrace the concealment that is this physical world, this material world that does not openly represent godliness or indicate godliness, we embrace it in that we have created a reality that we have born for ourselves anew today, that even though this world doesn't indicate it, I know that there's something behind it. And with that, we try to take that reality and we're going to carry it with us throughout our day. And to say just a little further, we know that this davening that we do every day is what the rabbis teach us is the long short way, which means that even though it is a long process, it's when we realize the rewards and we attain the realizations that we spend a lot of time working on, they come very immediately. But that being said, it's a long process, and that every day we do this again. And not only that, not every day do we necessarily feel something, but even if we do feel something every day, it takes time to attune our minds and to think and to cultivate a reality for us to internalize and carry with us throughout our day, that even in the moments that we get twisted up, we remind ourselves that we have affirmed that there is one God and that godliness imbues all of existence. So while it might feel sometimes like we're maybe going slowly or not every day presents a real eureka moment, just keep in mind that this is a long process and we have a lot of time to do this, and that every day with a little half a baby step, we're cultivating our mind a bit more to change how we see the reality, that this world is in fact a godly place, and that through the goodness and kindness that we commit ourselves to before we pray, we can actually make this world and transform it from a jungle into a beautiful garden. So everybody should have a blessed and fantastic day, and connect to, try to, if you can, at some point during the day, reflect on what you felt while you were saying Shema, specifically in what you felt when you thought about your struggles, and how struggles are natural and a part of our essential existence as a Jew, but that imbued with that at the same time, the flip side of that coin is that we have the ability to transcend our struggles. And both of those are part of the divine intent in our creation as Jews, as a people, and as us as individuals. And try to take that realization that we had even for a moment and engage with it throughout the day, and try to take it from abstract into a concrete reality that we can express and share with another, maybe to inspire another as we go throughout our day. Have a great day, everybody.